Hi, everyone. Welcome to Real Talk Just for Girlfriends. While we are really girlfriends, our name comes from an organization we all love, Just for Girlfriends. Thank you for joining us. We are glad you're here. So, hi, ladies. I'm so glad to be back with you.
Yes, always a good time.
How are you doing?
I'm good. It feels like I haven't seen you since 2 days ago.
That's right. Well, you know how we do it when we start our show. It's time for us to think out loud. And, you know, what's been on my mind is overcoming fear. We were just on vacation, and I did some things that I was a little bit scared to do, but I did them.
Oh, wow.
And I felt so great. I mean, I felt so invincible.
Sure.
And, you know, so I want to
like shotgun that you were masterful at?
Yes.
Yes.
When I heard that, initially I was like, oh my gosh, that's going to be too much. But I ended up loving it. Going down the mountain full speed on the ATV looked terrifying. I was like, am I going to do that?
It was
I don't
great.
think it was.
It
It
was
was fun. But afterwards, didn't you feel great? Like it felt like you're taking something head on and you conquered it.
Yeah. I would have never known that you were fearful of any of it, the way that you were, doing it.
The way you approached it with confidence.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
I did
very
not know
hesitant.
that either.
Right, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Just feel like,
And we
so
climbed the
invincible.
rock together. Was that fear? Were you fearful of that?
I was fearful
as well?
of that.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
actually scared of heights.
I did not know that,
I know,
Michelle. That's
but
awesome.
I know. I just
Right.
like doing things that initially scare me.
Okay.
Because of, I just feel so strong afterwards. And I'm going to carry that on to, there's other things that, I may be fearful of, that I'm going to keep that same attitude. It's usually more adventure type stuff, but I mean, you can apply that to pretty much anything.
And it's like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that it's usually not as bad as you expected it.
Yes.
Your mind is powerful.
It is very powerful.
And it can make a mountain out of a molehill, right?
Yes.
Literally. ATVing was a highlight of my
It was. That
vacation. One of the highlights.
Despite the fact that I didn't go fast enough for you.
Despite the fact that you held up the entire ATV line.
I kept you all very safe. I kept you safe.
I cracked up when you said
go
that.
through the
I was
mountains.
keeping you safe.
I kept you safe.
Because they would have been wild otherwise,
Because I
right?
wanted to go up and place her, but I thought, I'm going to follow instructions.
Single
She
file.
said she's looking at the scenery. I do not believe her. So next time we do it, next vacation,
I'll be first.
I believe Angelique should be in the rear with the guy pulling up the rear. Right. I think that's where, or they should ask, if you are a slower rider, who should you be with?
First.
Where should you go?
First.
And then I think you're going to put you in the back.
No, keep the
And then
group
the rest
safe.
of us who want to do like our instructor was doing and ride up and down hills,
The
we should be in
instructor.
front.
Yeah,
We should
okay.
be in front.
I don't think the instructor used his brake once, even around that bend.
I was ready
Yeah.
to be with him. Like
Yeah,
I
he
wanted
was
to be
fun.
up there, but
Yeah.
I was being
I was keeping up with him
respectful.
until he took that turn on two wheels. I said, okay, no, I'm not. I mean, there's only so far.
Yeah,
you know,
there's only so far.
It's only
There's
so far.
I,
We're on a mountain,
I
for
was a little
goodness sake.
scared when I got on. Yeah, there's only so far.
Exactly.
So it was great. I did not know that, Michelle. So that
Right,
is something
yes.
new.
I'm so glad that
absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
What's been on your mind, Robin?
So I have been, I don't know why I'm thinking about this so early, but it could have been because we were in Montana and maybe the surroundings. But let me tell you this. Did you all know, I'm thinking about holidays and what am I actually going to do? It's only 43 days to Thanksgiving.
43.
It's only 43?
43 days.
need to
I have
plan
no
my
idea
menu.
what I'm eating, who's cooking, where I'm going to be.
Exactly.
I don't even know where my family is going to be.
43 doesn't sound like a lot at all.
70 days till winter.
I
Literally
like
that one,
70
though.
days to winter.
Winter's
I like crop
beautiful.
tops and shorts, so
You can,
you could
You can wear that in winter if you like.
and then
Inside, right?
74 days to Christmas.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess I'm thinking about it just because I have, my life has changed where I am empty nestering almost, and so people
Pretty
are all
much,
over
yeah.
the place. And what do? We haven't had a traditional
That's true.
Christmas in 5 years, only once in 5 years, and we still had to travel to do that. So I'm thinking, just kind of reimagining what the holidays might look like for me, but who's going to do it? I was the one cooking. I really have no desire to cook. And
you paid your dues.
Could I
that,
just
yeah.
eat fries and a burger? And I think I would be okay with that.
Yes.
But will everybody
Oh
else
my
be
God.
okay?
I
There
can't
was
wait
one-
to hear how it turns out.
There was
Yeah.
one Thanksgiving we just ordered pizza, and we were so happy with that.
I think
love
I would
that.
be fine with
We
that.
were very happy with that.
So it's on my mind because I'm, what do I do? We're kind of in
Right.
transition,
It's
know?
so
I'm
different
trying to-
when the kids are grown and have places.
Yes.
Right?
And 43 days is not far away.
That is very close.
I mean, I need to.
It's a
I'm
blink
making
of
my
an
list
eye.
when we go home. I'm one of those ones. Of course, because I'm an engineer too. I have the whole Gantt chart. Like, okay, we're gonna put this in the oven at this time, and I mean, it's a
Oh,
huge piece
wow.
of paper.
Well,
By the
then
time this
maybe
comes
it's
out,
your house then. Maybe
That's
we
right.
come
There's
I
the
out.
actually
answer.
love to cook for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's
All
the
right. I'll bring
answer.
hot
Right.
chocolate.
that'll be. Oh yes. I'm gonna make
Yes.
sure I'm ready for it this
Make sure you're
time.
ready for it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's on my mind. You might hear this come up in upcoming weeks as well because I
Mhm.
think it's just on my mind. I'm trying to
I'm
figure
glad you
things
said
out.
it because I did not really appreciate how close it is.
It
It's
is. And
time
you
to
have
get
very
younger
it
close,
planned.
children,
yeah.
so you have young. So there's more to do than I have
Yep.
to do.
So
right?
much more.
So I've been thinking about vacation, and obviously it's just because we came off of this fabulous trip to Montana. But what I realized is that, during COVID, because I love travel, you guys know before COVID, I was traveling all the time. I love vacation because it gives you a time to bring it down, reset, not think of anything that's going on at home. And during COVID, I didn't get to do that as much. And so you kind of just forgot
At all.
at all, right? And so now that we did it, I came back and I was like, wow, I got to see something new. The
Yeah.
mountains were beautiful. And it was that time to be with friends and laugh. And I really didn't think about anything that was back here. Then when I got back, it was like, throw me deep in the pool
Right.
because it was back at it. But I will say, when we got back on Sunday, I made airline flights to Denver. So I'm going on another vacation.
Really?
Yes.
That's
So-
amazing.
So my
Yes.
husband and I were going to go to Denver. We were supposed to be visiting some colleagues. So I finally got that
That's
trip booked.
Great. That's
Yes.
Yes.
And then I started thinking about where else can I go and really scheduling it in because you get so busy and you don't, it's
That's
like
the part.
another
Yeah.
another month. And so now I'm like, okay, let me pull out the calendar and
Find out when I'm
schedule
going.
in times that downtime. And it's something that I really enjoy.
No,
So-
that's exciting. Yeah.
Scheduling in vacations for self-care.
Yeah.
I need to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I piggyback on vacation, so you just send me your.
Absolutely.
So she's so footloose and fancy free
That's
now.
right. I
Right.
just
Well,
join.
But I will say it was
vacation.
beautiful because when we all went to Hawaii, I was like, she said, "You're going to Hawaii?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "I'm coming." I was like, "Well, come on. We got a house. We got extra room." And for the
Right.
second week, you came and visited
That's
us.
right.
So
I
that
had
was
a
awesome.
ball.
That's
I had
amazing.
a ball. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it was great. It was great.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very limited in when and where I can
It
go.
will
But I
change.
will definitely
We will
schedule
schedule
something.
it.
Yes, we will
Yes,
schedule
I
it.
will
And
schedule
it will
it.
change, right?
We
Time
can
goes
schedule
fast,
another. We
yeah.
can schedule another girls trip. So
Right.
that's fun too, or a family trip.
Family.
Yes.
Yeah.
for
Family trip. All of those things have different settings, different varieties. You can do
Right.
different things, but they all
They
get back
serve a
to
purpose.
what we always talk about, which is that self-care, that
Yes.
rest, that relaxation, that
does.
rejuvenation, and then you come back ready to go
Ready to go.
or ready to go again.
Yeah.
One or the other.
One or the
probably-
other.
it's
And both
probably-
work, right?
Right, probably,
They both
probably
work.
always ready to go. again.
But I know
sure.
I
Yeah.
am low on patience, and it does help
Yes.
to be able to get away. It helps you with have patience with all the little things that you have to do that don't
Yes.
quite go as well as you want them to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the
So
uniqueness of some of the things that we have done in the past. Right?
Sure.
It's really nice.
that really is. I mean, bucket list items. you
Yes.
know? Yeah. They
Yes.
are definitely well worth it.
Yeah,
You know,
I
the
agree.
planning and the time it takes. Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
I never would have thought that I would have enjoyed a dude ranch as much as we did. And it was
You just never know. Right.
Well,
it's a little bit
I
luxury.
mean,
Okay, I know you're going to say
right.
that.
Yeah.
If we
Okay.
weren't,
This
we
one
weren't
you
roughing
can't
it.
help. I don't-
So there was no roughing it.
There was no
Right.
roughing
There was
it.
no roughing it, but it
But
was fun.
It was fun. We
It was
did
fun.
horseback
Yes.
riding, ATV.
I agree. I
James
love it.
Beard food. So it was amazing.
Ladies, I so enjoyed this conversation as always.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Recently, the James Beard Awards were held in Chicago, recognizing the finest of cuisine and cocktails. This week on For the Culture, I'll talk to Renata Riddle about the art of cocktailing, entrepreneurial success, and the Beard Award nomination, and the community she and her co-owner have created. Smart, unique, and dope conversations with a decidedly Chicago flavor.
Today, our show focuses on managing toxic relationships. I think most of us have experienced toxicity in some form or another. Ladies, what has been your experience with toxic relationships?
Well, I'll start off because I know toxic relationships can exist in romantic relationships, friendships, professional relationships.
Right. I think people talk about it in romantic relationships most, but you're right.
It can, yes, it can really be in all forms. I'll start off, and I love quotes. So I'll start off with my quote on toxic relationships.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to move people out of the VIP section of your life to the regular seats, some to the balcony, and some all the way out to the parking lot.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
When you're thinking about toxic relationships, I think you have to figure out what part, of your life were they in and where they need to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Sort of protect your peace.
Protect your peace. Protect your peace. So I've been fortunate that I have never experienced a toxic professional relationship. Thank the Lord. I've never experienced a toxic romantic relationship. I've been, really lucky in that. I think I've gotten on the edge of toxic friendships.
Okay.
Because, one of the things I always say is if it doesn't feel right, it's not.
Right.
And a lot of times we force ourselves to stay in whatever type of relationship because we think we're supposed to be there.
Right.
Or either you feel like you're committed to that person, or you feel like you spent so much time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is true that there's a season that people have come and go, and it's time to say goodbye.
Right.
And some of the things that I think when you think about friendships is it a one-way friendship? Are you doing all of the giving and not of the getting? Is it a friendship where the other person has become jealous? Is it a friendship where it's just not working for you? Is it a friendship where you've outgrown that person? Is it a friendship where they're a very negative person and it's making you negative? I saw another quote recently, posted on Facebook or something, but it said, if you're in a room with 5 millionaires, you'll be number 6. If you're in a room with 5 professionals, you'll be number 6. If you're in a room with 5 negative people, you'll be number 6.
Wow.
So make sure you stay in the same rooms. And I think sometimes that happens in toxic relationships.
Right.
Yes.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For
Right.
sure.
What I'm interested to learn from our professional, our guest, when she comes out, is can relationships go toxic and come back?
Can you come back from it?
Can you come back from it? So you don't have to, throw the
I
baby
think
out
you
with the bathwater. So that'll
If
be
both
interesting.
parties want to.
If you're willing, there's some willingness there. Yeah.
We'll see
For
what
sure.
she says. I'm curious about that. too.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That is true. And it's funny, when you were talking about that, I wanted to share I guess what you would say, a formal definition of toxic. Relationships in which you feel unsupported, misunderstood, demeaned, and or attacked.
Yeah.
And you can see how that can exist in a lot of different types of relationships. Right.
Absolutely.
Misunderstood. That's a good one. Yeah,
Right.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Right. And when you were talking about friends, it made me think of, I used to have this friend who would always make jokes, you know what I mean? But at my expense,
Demeaning.
Like
Demeaning.
either where you're short or your hair, something. And it is funny, but you're like, why am I always laughing at myself when I'm with you?
Yeah.
When I'm with you, I'm
Laughing
always
at
laughing at
myself. I'm
myself.
laughing at
Looking at this
myself.
definition
Yeah.
and hearing us talk, that might have been toxic.
I think it probably
It
was
might have
toxic.
been.
We're
Or
not
she
friends
may have
with-
been jealous.
Yeah, it actually was a little guy friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
But
may have
very
been
strange.
jealous.
May have
Yeah.
been, I don't
Could have
know.
been. Yeah.
And so you had to move him out to the
It
parking lot.
happened. Yep. Yep.
Time is up.
Time's up.
Time is
There's
up.
a season
up.
and you move on.
And
Right.
you move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard or seen some in the workplace usually, and I mean, you guys know, I don't have a ton of, you all are my circle, right? I don't have a ton of, a ton of friends here, but I've seen in the workplace, people are invisible in meetings purposefully. So whatever they're trying to say, they just are
Sure.
overlooked, or if somebody else says it, they are recognized versus the person that actually said it. And it's
Wow.
kind of passive aggressive.
That is very passive
And
aggressive.
it seems like
Yes.
I'm just not, maybe I'm not speaking up enough or that sort of thing. But
Right.
I've seen that and been
Oh, what about
startled
this
by it
one?
like that.
You do say something and nobody says anything, and then someone else says it. Oh my God, it's the best thing since sliced bread.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've seen that quite
That's
a
a
bit.
bad one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not being invited to things.
Right, right.
Not being invited to dinner after work or lunch. Things
Or you
like
hear
that.
about the next day. Oh, we had someone. What were you guys talking about? Oh, last night we did such and such. Like, oh, okay.
Inside jokes, so
Yeah,
all of that,
exactly.
decisions being made after work. So I've heard and seen quite a few of those, and I think we put it under kind of passive aggressive behavior in the workplace, but it's hard to navigate too.
Right.
Are these things offenses that I should take to HR? Is it just that I am, trying to assimilate to the
what
culture?
They will say.
Apps being sensitive,
you're too
especially
sensitive, right.
when we think about stats for African American women. Am I being aggressive? Am I being too aggressive? Not aggressive enough? I don't want to be labeled. Those sorts of things. So I've seen all types of things
happen in the workplace.
And not until you get a little older, more mature in your career, can you see how people should be navigating that when we're talking about inclusive environments, that sort of thing. Yeah.
And so I started my career off in a law firm, and it was a thing where people would say, you just have to be used to the partners yelling at you. That is toxic. You do not have to be. I'll never forget. So maybe I did have a toxic professional relationship.
Maybe.
You buried it.
Yeah,
exactly. We're pulling it out. We're pulling it out.
Because I'll never forget, I was like a first-year associate. And there was one, and you guys know I don't scare easy. There was one partner that would make every associate cry.
Oh.
Every associate.
He prided himself on that,
I bet you he did. So he gave me an assignment. I came in his office, and he said, everyone said that you were wonderful, but I don't see it. And I chuckled because I thought it was kind of, I am wonderful.
Like, you can't. Then it must be you.
It must be you.
It must be you.
And he said, I can't believe you're laughing. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I just thought what you said was funny, but how can I fix the project to make you good?
Exactly.
And then he started going in. And he was like, well, you didn't say this, and you didn't say this. And so I said later, at the end of that conversation, I said, well, look, we're clearly not communicating. How about I go take this and I go write it and fix it how I think you might like it, and I'll bring it back. And he was like, well, that's one way to do it.
Because he was like,
the conversation is going nowhere.
I was like,
and she's not crying.
I'm not crying.
She's not crying yet.
Well, do you know, he later became a mentor of mine. And he later came back and said, Angelique, no, he shouldn't have been making people cry. He said, you were the only associate that didn't fall apart. And I later was able to tell him, I don't think that's how you build people up. But he absolutely became a mentor of mine. Wow. He gave me all kind of projects.
No, I love that story.
And he did. He said, I was surprised you didn't cry. I was like, I didn't know you expected me to cry. That wasn't
not something to cry about. Yeah. Well, I think we have a thicker skin. The things we've had to deal with just even getting there, right?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
not crying worthy, right?
Yeah, and I think sometimes toxic people need feedback, and they're probably never in a position to receive it. I'm interested to hear that from the expert as well.
Yeah,
sometimes they don't know they're toxic.
That's what I was going to say. I'm hoping with our discussion with our guests, when we talk about what is a toxic person, people may recognize themselves and it's like,
maybe I'm the one.
I need to make some changes here because I don't think people want to be toxic. Something maybe they learned. So we'll see.
Yeah.
If we're helping. Yeah. I was sitting here thinking about my experience with toxic relationships, and this is a situation that I will never forget. It was when I was in college. We have a very close-knit family. So me and my parents, my brothers were all very close.
Sure.
But I wouldn't necessarily call her a friend, but it was someone who I was in class with. So we would spend a lot of time together. And she would always be around. And my mom, we talked on the phone all day long. Like something funny happened, I'm calling my mom, oh, you won't believe this just happened, blah, blah, blah. Or she'll call me, what's going on, baby girl? And we talk like for hours. And so she, as it turns out, did not have a very good relationship with her mom. I think their relationship was toxic.
Sure.
And she began to feel a certain kind of way about me just having so much joy.
Jealousy.
Again, she was trying to undermine and like, I don't know why you got to talk to your mama. You in college. Why you got to talk to your mama? Like, I don't know about what you and your mama do. But me and Sylvia, we have to talk. We talk regularly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that was a toxic relation. You're right. I had to escort her right out. I don't feel bad,
about talking to your mom. Yeah.
About talking to my mom. But it also made me feel very sad. I was telling my mom about it. Bless her. My mom was like, bring her home to Thanksgiving. I'm like,
no.
We're done with her. We're done with her.
She's in the parking lot.
We're done with her.
And what do they say? You don't take the trash back in the house once you take it outside.
That's true. Right.
So now they're trash. I'm ready for the expert.
Well, I was just going with some quotes.
I might need some other verbiage here, right? To be able to use.
Not people.
It's just the saying.
It's just a saying.
Well, I think we've raised some interesting questions. Yes. Let's bring out our guests. So coming up after the break, we'll have licensed clinical professional counselor Camille Burlock to help us identify toxic traits and manage toxic relationships. We'll be right back.
On this week's Change Agents, we will meet some incredible activists working to combat hate faced by the Muslim American community. Join me and my guests, Maria Muzaffar and Ahmed Rehab, as we discuss Islamophobia and ways that communities can stand in solidarity with some of our most vulnerable and marginalized neighbors. Join us this Thursday at 7 p.m. on CAN TV Channel 19 or stream us live on cantv.org. I'll see you soon.
Welcome back. Camille Burlock, a licensed clinical professional counselor, is here to help us identify toxic traits and manage toxic relationships, whether they are personal or professional. Welcome, Camille, to the show.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being here.
So glad to have you.
Yeah, we were speaking amongst ourselves about toxic relationships, and we have some questions. I know you can help us. First on my mind is, I think there are probably people out there that are toxic and do not know that they are. What are some traits that you see that toxic people exhibit?
So some of the traits are that individuals, first and foremost, because toxic relationships are about conflict, competition, and needing control. Individuals typically are selfish. I think you guys were in an earlier segment saying something about making a kind of joke about, taking the trash out. But really what it is, what it really is,
you want to keep the trash
they're
out.
they're individuals. Actually, I say run, but literally, when we're talking about toxic relationships, we're talking about hurt people.
Hurt people.
There are people who have experienced maybe multiple layers of trauma, people who have experienced heartache, frustration, and fear, and that basically overshadows their decisions and their relationships. So some of the things you'll see in toxic relationships is a lot of lying, arguing, belittling, berating, and criticizing, and never being able, you see this pattern of never really being able to resolve issues. And it's just the same pattern of arguing, and nothing ever improving.
Sure, that's what you were saying, is the berating and the belittling of the example that you had, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a toxic individuals tend to be jealous. So they'll downplay or undermine your confidence or discount any of your achievements. Like I said, it's really a selfish individual. So they're really manipulating situations and people just to get what they want, and they'll do what they want. And so we need to be aware of this, when we see this, in order to be able to protect ourselves. And I think someone mentioned protecting your peace. You have to know these characteristics in someone, possibly yourself, right? To make sure that you're not being a toxic individual.
Exactly. Have you helped someone who is being toxic to someone else? Have they actually come to seek help?
Do toxic people seek help?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
Absolutely.
Well, that's good. They can be helped.
Yes.
How do those sessions go?
Let's just say, it's levels to this.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, but I will say, there was something that was asked about, if a relationship has been toxic, can it come back from being toxic?
Yeah.
And I love what you ladies say, because you're absolutely right. It takes the individuals in the relationship to be able to want to make change, be willing to look at yourself and see what it is that I'm doing that's unhealthy behaviors, that's not adding value to this relationship, and being able to reverse those behaviors.
Okay.
Definitely.
And I can see how that would need a neutral third party.
A neutral third
Yes, people
party.
always think they're right, and the partner is not going to be able to make you see that. So if you can get to a counselor or therapist, like
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Counseling, definitely. We really want to look at counseling as like an outlet, a place where we go that's non-biased. We can talk through our things, process emotions, and really understand ourselves. When you can understand yourself better, you can see other people better, even things that they're unwilling to see.
That's true. Yeah.
And so then that is helping you be proactive, and you can self-manage.
Sure.
And what type of relationships are you seeing most toxic relationships? Is it romantic? Is it personal? Or friendships?
Man, I have to say all kinds. All of the ones especially that that you all described, definitely in romantic relationships. In my practice, with couples therapy, You see a lot of unhealthy behaviors and never really getting to the crust of things and working through things. So I help couples to be able to really, I say I gently put a mirror in, individuals' faces,
like
right? So you can see exactly what's happening, and then you can ask yourself, is this good?
Right.
And make those changes,
Because you
right?
know, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what's good
Most
and
of the
what's
time
not.
we do.
Okay.
It's again fear, and fear was mentioned in an earlier segment.
Yeah.
It's fear, and individuals are very insecure. Toxic individuals are very insecure, and what they'll do is they basically prey on other people's fears to mask their own. You have to be able to know that, and that's
people
what
are really
self-care
good at that.
comes.
Some people are, and it sounds like it's self-preservation for them. Well,
Oh, this is the way that they exist.
Okay.
This is what they know.
Okay.
Many times they're unwilling, and sometimes people don't know that their actions are toxic.
That's what I was
And
thinking.
it's important for us to be able to speak up for ourselves and be assertive so that we can say when something has been violated. And many times you may not get the result that you want, but then that'll let you know where you stand with that individual, right?
Here's a question. So we were talking about relationships that you can get rid of, but what about when it's familial?
Oh yeah,
What about when it's your family or
Yeah.
it's your, maybe your close family?
absolutely.
How do you, what's the tip for, how do you deal with that?
Sure.
Because they always say you can't choose your family.
Absolutely, right? And that's very true. One of the things is it is difficult because it is your family. It's hard to break ties. You may be cool with a family member that is still cool with that toxic person,
Wow.
right? There's a lot of
Speaking
talking.
of Thanksgiving, what does that look like?
Right. And so, there's a lot of talk, we know, in families, that can weigh or make you feel a particular way. But really with that, when we're talking about protecting our peace, really, and self-management, we have to be able to separate our feelings from the next person. And so even though it's a family member, you still have to find ways to protect yourself. So one of the ways is limiting contact. Limiting contact, less is best in these situations.
Sometimes that's it.
Less
It
best.
is.
Okay.
Making sure that there's when you do communicate, that communication is straightforward and simple, keeping it light. If things tend to go bad, disengage. You do not have to engage in unhealthy interactions.
I like that.
Re-
I like that. Because
Yeah.
some people just, especially if you have two people that think they are right, they just gonna
Yes.
keep going at it, like you said,
Yes.
going around in circles, not getting anywhere. Disengage. Take yourself out
Absolutely.
the
Just
situation.
stop. You
I
don't
think
have
that's a
to do
great
it.
tip.
And you really
Right.
can only control yourself. You can't control them.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That
Word.
part.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. That's
Yes.
true. And a lot of times in our relationship, especially depending on the dynamic of the relationship, we're trying to control the other person. We'll say out of our mouths, well, I know I can't control this person. But then the way your actions and your emotions, you're still expecting
Manipulating.
something
Okay.
different.
Right.
And that you're setting yourself up for failure.
So protect your peace and remove yourself from the situation.
Remove yourself, but you want to remove yourself in a healthy way. All too many
So don't
times.
storm out the door and tear everything down.
Well, no, don't do that. But I mean,
No, don't do that.
well, maybe in a more subtle way, because fear causes people to respond to things in a
Yes.
particular way, right? The fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response system. So that's what humans do when we experience trauma or fear. What we do is we look for ways to protect ourselves against that stimulus or whatever it is that's fearful. And so we avoid, meaning we don't speak up for ourselves. There are too many people pleasers.
There are a
Let's
lot of
admit
people
some people-
pleasers. There's a
Some
lot
people
of
think that's
them.
really good. They're like, yeah, I know, I'm just a people pleaser by
That's not
nature.
good.
Yeah.
But they're eating themselves up inside.
Absolutely.
Right,
When
yeah.
you're people pleasing, to be honest, like there's no such thing as I'm just so nice I think about everybody else except for myself.
Excuse
That
me.
is not
Wait a
healthy.
minute.
Why would you do that?
know you take yourself everywhere you go, right?
Right.
You
You
take
want to look
yourself.
out for that person.
That's right.
You know?
So you take yourself everywhere you go.
So
Yes.
a lot of times, even, we will want to, when you look at yourself, and that's why I talk a lot about self-care, when you look at yourself, you're able to see the things that you don't like. You're able to see certain patterns,
Right.
but you have to be willing to look at yourself, but with eyes of compassion, to understand
Don't be so
yourself.
hard on yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You say
Give
that
yourself.
all the
I
time.
say that
Right.
all the time. Give yourself grace.
Yeah, give
Be-
yourself grace.
I heard another one when we were actually on our trip. for the sake of all the individuals, I'll use some different names. But one of our members, we were taking a picture, and she didn't want to smile with her teeth because she was like, I don't like my teeth. And we all rallied around her like, you are beautiful. And even one person said, stop. Why do you keep being mean to yourself? You are beautiful. And she smiled, and it was like one of the best pictures we took of the whole trip.
I heard
That's
about
that support
That's
network.
awesome.
Yes.
That's
awesome.
I love that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
So
love
being
that.
willing to, especially when you talk about close friends, being willing to be there to be helpful.
Absolutely.
And talk about those things.
And not, because the friends can kind of fall into some gossiping,
Yes.
pitting friends against each other when you have
Toxic.
these friends
That's
groups.
toxic.
That's toxic.
Absolutely.
That's
It
cesspool.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes, right. It's successful. It can turn to that.
One of the
right.
things you can do is kind of focus on like some, as far as family, some family members that you are close with, that you do have a good rapport.
Sure.
And, and some family members that you do trust, but also as friends, maybe looking outside of that friend group and joining a support group or interest group, trying to do something different, like what you were talking about earlier. We learn things about ourselves, and it gives you an opportunity to meet more people.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
I want to turn our discussion and focus a little bit on the romantic relationships, because
Oh,
like I said, I think that it's the most popular when you think
Yes.
of toxic.
Is it the most popular?
To be honest, I think that's the one that's talked about a lot.
That's what I mean.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
But trust me, there are even parental and parent-child
absolutely.
toxic
yes.
relationships.
I could see that.
There's a lot of dismissive of your feelings, and I hate to say that, but sometimes, especially like authoritarian parents, I really want you to obey, have high expectations. Sometimes, even in all their well-meaning, may forget that part of parenting is also creating this genuine, warm environment. So if a child is feeling a particular way, well, fix your face. I'll give you something to feel that way. Well, now we're dismissing.
We might cultural here.
Well,
Yeah.
it's something
said,
that
well,
we have to
it's
change.
something
We have
that's
to
real
change. Yes,
and
it
that
is. It
culturally, perhaps, we need to address.
I just put up the mirror.
Yes.
Yes. Put the mirror up.
You put the mirror up in my
Learned
bed, Camille.
behavior.
I'm guilty of this,
I
you
will
know,
give you something to cry
and
about.
so
Yeah,
it has
said
been
that.
through my knowledge and training and my own personal experience. All of my children are grown now, that I've come to like, oh, okay, so it probably wasn't that good to do that.
Right.
But you
Yes.
have to be willing to do
And to
that.
change.
I agree.
Yeah.
You have to be willing.
Every day is a new day to be better.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, and apologizing for some of those things.
Yeah.
Acknowledging that.
Oh,
apologizing.
definitely.
Yes.
That's times
Apology
for
goes a long
healing.
way,
If
yes.
you're blessed to still be here, say, and your children, are grown, look for those moments to heal and to move past.
Yeah.
So as far as romantic relationships,
Right. Do you have any resources for those who say, I've been in this relationship for years, they're recognizing now that it is not serving them? What are
Yes.
some tools to get yourself out of that type of
Yeah.
situation?
Well, okay, so I'll answer that question, but what you really, really want to do is do the self-care so you can be proactive and not getting into those situations.
Because some people
If you
do leave and
find-
get the right same man.
If you
Yep.
find, but you got
Or
to
woman.
be able to willing to look
Yeah.
at yourself after a relationship and give some time and see what went good, what didn't go
Absolutely.
good,
How did
and
I
what
get-
how you're
yeah.
going to move
I
forward
like
doing
that.
better.
I like that.
So if you find that you're already in a toxic relationship, find someone that you can express your feelings to, that you trust, that you can talk to. Because you need an outlet. So maybe therapy, maybe a close family member or friend.
Right.
And definitely, if there are some redeemable qualities in this individual, that's only one.
Yes.
And number two, that individual is willing wholeheartedly to
Yes.
participate in their self-work
Sure.
and go to couples therapy, individual therapy, you may be working with something. Okay? In those situations where it's not like that, definitely expressing yourself to someone, get yourself in therapy so that you can go and talk out some of the things that you've experienced and you don't take any unhealthy learned behaviors from that situation. This is the hard part.
Okay.
But you have to take responsibility for why you were even in that relationship.
Yes, that's
Yes.
That's the part
not
where
all
like-
the finger-
that's the part
how'd
where you
you
go like
get
this.
there?
Right. Not all the
How'd
finger
you get
pointing,
there?
right.
How'd you get there?
right.
Yeah, I mean, like really, but it's hard, but it's definitely worth it because this is a time where you get to really take a closer look at yourself and see any patterns, things that you may learn about yourself, things that you really do need in a relationship, really things that you thought you needed, you don't need.
Right.
And so it gives yourself an opportunity to look at yourself and to better yourself. to better yourself.
Because I would presume you have to heal yourself
Absolutely.
before you can move on to something that's more positive.
Yes.
Right.
So that look in the mirror has to happen before you really can get to as painful as it is, before you get to a healthy relationship.
I call acceptance the A word, which is like a lot of people are like, but it is a very real word, and we think acceptance is about liking and condoning. Acceptance is about acknowledging the reality of a situation. So it's things about ourselves. Toxic people are not looking in the mirror at themselves. They just one track mind, they have a strategy, they're manipulating, they need to cheat, lie, whatever to get what they want, gaslight. But when you take actually a look at yourself and you see the things, it gives you an opportunity to make the changes that you want to see. It gives you an opportunity to do better for yourself.
Yeah.
And how are you getting toxic people to see themselves? Like, how are you doing that? Because I've seen some really toxic people that you just remove yourself. You just don't even know. I don't even know how it ended up. I don't even
Well,
Robin's quick to remove.
You said something about control earlier. So look, well, we do. There's a locus of control that we all have, and it goes about this big.
Okay.
And that's ourselves, our internal thoughts, our decisions, how we treat people, how we take care of ourselves. So, like, how can I be so helpful to other people truly, but I can't even help myself? And so I think being authentic with yourself is going to be big with this, and being able to recognize when, I made the wrong step here. And you know what? Having the strength and the willingness and compassion to make the changes that you want to see.
Sure.
Absolutely. It sounds like the tips and the tools that you have provided dealing with romantic relationships really work for any type of toxic relationship you may find yourself in. Do you think that's
Oh, absolutely. Look, there are family histories, like, family secrets, a lot of things where maybe some adults were behaving badly in the past, and now here you come along and don't understand why your cousin don't like you. It's all types of, it's all types of things, and I think we have to look at those things. One of the things that we want to be is a participant in our lives, in our own self-care. And so when you can address things, and sometimes it's hard, right, to address challenging and difficult situations, but it's necessary. And we can learn the tools and the skills that we need to be more assertive. And so the definition of assertiveness is we all have a right to express our desires, needs, and wants without long as it's kindly and respectfully.
Right.
Okay.
When you're assertive, you're not saying it's only about me. You're considering what's important to you, and you're thinking about the other person.
And I love that, because that's where I think that people fall, is that they just either will run away without addressing it. So you always feel unresolved.
Right.
Because you feel, and it's not being mean, it's saying, I don't like the way you're treating me. This is not okay. I'm not comfortable with this.
Absolutely.
And you, frankly, I would think you can't even start fixing that relationship, if it is fixable, until everybody
address it.
You
got it.
You got to address it.
I
Okay.
think sometimes when you run away and don't address it, you think it's something you did. So that's how you take that same mess into your next relationship.
You know why that happened? Emotions. We get stuck in our emotions when we feel a particular way. And so our emotions make us shut down.
That's true.
And our feelings.
Avoid.
We have therapy right here.
We get petty, right?
Yeah.
We get petty.
We get petty. We get petty.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's all emotions.
It's a
Right?
defense mechanism.
Right.
Right.
Right, because
That's what I meant when you were saying, like, kind of cut it off. Yeah, you do have to be aware. And if you try and you see that you can't get this person to understand how
So at
they're
least try.
impacting you, then you have to protect your
And then
peace.
You'd have
sometimes,
to
like at
protect
work,
yourself.
people need their jobs, so they have to be able to maneuver
Yes,
in
that
that.
is
So I
true.
think, well, what would you say to someone who is like my boss or my assistant or my colleague is toxic, is really affecting the way I feel, but they have to work there?
Absolutely.
What would you say to them?
So I'll tell you a situation in a moment I was in with that, but definitely you want to avoid drama and toxic interactions. A lot of times in the workplace, there are a lot of things that are talked about that shouldn't be. You don't really need to involve yourself
That's
in those
true.
conversations.
That's true. Keep it
Remember,
professional, right.
staying objective. Why are you there?
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
we
you for
really
having me.
appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with For Your Health.
Hi, I'm Darius Hillman. I am so excited to welcome to this week's program New York Times bestselling author, poet, and mental health advocate, my new BFF, Bassey Igby. Coming up this Friday, thoughtful, compelling conversations with a decidedly Chicago flavor in the arena, Friday at 7 p.m. on CAN-TV 19 and streaming on cantv.org.
It is time for Your Health. It is not unusual for women to suffer disparate health outcomes, most often because they do not know or feel comfortable enough to ask the right questions about their health. We're happy to have Dr. Akua Afriyie-Gray here with us today to give us tips to help us with our own health. Welcome, Dr. Afriyie-Gray, to the show.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So glad you're here.
Well, I tell you what, when you asked me about what women can do to take responsibility for their health, I thought, when I go to the doctor, I have lots of questions and I don't always get them all out. So I was trying to think about a few specific tips that I could give that women can use. Okay. The first one is seek reputable resources. The second one is ask specific questions. The third one is keep track of your medical history. And the fourth one is keep up with your recommended screening. So seek, ask, and keep squared. So
okay. Seek, ask, and keep squared.
I like that.
That's right. So reputable resources are typically resources that have some research behind it. Right. Okay. So that would be your doctor or your medical provider, medical and research organizations like the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the National Institutes of Health, the Centers for Disease Control, the American Cancer Society, and the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force.
So wait, that doesn't include Google? Because Dr. Google is very helpful.
Yeah. Dr. Google, these sources may not be your friends or family members or even Dr. Google, right? Because each one of those people has an ulterior motive, right? Dr. Google wants you to keep clicking. Okay. Your family member wants you to be well, but they may not necessarily be able to have that 30,000-foot view that's going to give you the right answer. And friends are always going to tell you about their own experiences. And so that's going to color their judgment. And they may not provide you the correct information about what's going on with you.
So those social media threads is what you're saying I should probably stay away from.
I'm going to say no to that.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Unless you want misinformation.
Which I do not, because I want to be healthy here.
There are a lot of my colleagues actually who are on social media, on Instagram and on Facebook, who give very good information. I follow them myself and I listen. But as a layperson, sometimes it can be really hard to tease out what's the real deal and what's jokes and who are the people who are actually reputable to listen to. And that's why you have to also look for your own resources. So if you want to go to Google, look up one of the resources that are well researched so that you can conversate. I'm not even sure that's a word, but so you can have an intelligent conversation, right? Mm-hmm. Like you wouldn't go into the mechanic and say, hey, look at my car, right? You would probably have some idea of what is wrong with your car. Like my brakes are making a funny noise, or I think it's coming from here. Or maybe you went and looked in your car's manual and said, I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the ignition. And so that way, you can have that intelligent conversation. Or if you decide you want to Google something, you're Googling the right thing instead of a bunch of things that don't relate to what the real problem might be.
Okay. Now, why do you think, I know we started off saying that there's a disparate impact with women. Why do you think women are not as vocal about their health and about asking those questions? What have you seen in your practice?
Yeah, I think it's part of what you were talking about a little earlier on your previous segment, right? Many women are people pleasers. So either they come into the doctor feeling like, I'm just going to you're the doctor, I'm going to do whatever you say, right? Like that's not necessarily productive if you had something that was bothering you when you walked in the door. Or you might have the complete opposite end of the spectrum where someone comes in, I don't trust any doctors, and I have this list and I expect you to, fulfill all of these things. And, that's also not productive because you're trying to have a partnership with that person who is trying to take good care of you, right?
I love the way you just articulated that, a partnership with your doctor. Because I don't think we think of a doctor-patient relationship as a partnership. You don't, but I really like the way you think.
And that's how you have to find the right doctor.
Yes, you also have to find the ones that are willing to be partners with you and not just tell you.
See you as a number, rushing you in and out. Right?
Yes.
I would fully agree with that. I think if I can't have a partnership with my patient, then we can't get to the goal. The goal is good health, right? The goal is not for me to tell you what to do or for you to have to, go through some terrible 1, 2, 3 step of how to get better. It's more, and it might be some steps, but that's not my goal. My goal is good health, right? And that should be yours too. And I think if you have a common goal, then you'll work toward it together.
Yeah.
The other thing that I mentioned was asking specific questions. So your doctor sees you maybe 15 minutes, sometimes only once a year. So you kind of have to go in ready, right? So I would say pick 2 or 3 of the most important things that you want to be addressed in that visit so that they can be fully addressed and you can feel comfortable that you have taken care of those things. And then maybe save some of the things that are, oh, you know what, I was thinking about such and such that happened 10 years ago. Don't bring that up. Save that for another visit or just, if you have time at the end, bring it up, right?
Okay.
And then also, while you're asking questions, if you have a serious illness or if there's something seriously going on, it might be helpful to bring a supportive family member or friend, non-toxic, of course.
Absolutely. So when you talk about asking those questions and bringing those questions, what about using email? Because nowadays you can have televisits and a lot of doctors will accept emails. Do you recommend emailing those questions? Like your doctor, email them every day? That's what you should do.
I have mixed feelings about this because I have a family and I have children. And when I leave the office, it is nice to be able to shut down. Just like everybody else, your doctor needs some time to refresh and get ready for the next day. So when someone comes in to see me, there's preparation for that visit. So I look at their information ahead of time as best I can. And then after that visit is over, I have to document that visit. I have to follow up on the laboratory work. And then, unless it's a really serious question, I would not blow up their inbox with, random things, because then every time you send a message, they're going to wonder, okay, is this something that needs to be addressed right away? Or can I put this at the bottom of my inbox and get back to it? And meanwhile, you might be on the other end feeling like your doctor is ignoring you.
Angelique.
I would save those questions for something important.
Okay. And teledoc. So asking the questions during teledoc as well. Would you see that as an appropriate way?
Yeah. So, those telehealth visits, I think those are great times to ask questions because you're not doing much of a physical exam other than what the doctor can observe via video. So that's a great time to ask questions. And I actually think sometimes that's even one of the best times because, I'm focused in on your face. I'm listening to what you're telling me and I can write those things down and either get back to you if I don't know them right away or answer them right away. Yeah, telehealth visits are a great way for that. Like if you want to schedule some time where the doctor is focused in on you, and when I'm answering emails, I don't know about you, but I'm getting yells from my kid down the hall, and my husband's asking, "Hey, what's for dinner?" And and I'm trying to answer an email. So if I have dedicated time to talk and answer questions, I think I can be very effective that way.
And I think people are probably more comfortable too if they're talking to you from their home. they may
I
open
think
up a little
so.
more.
Sure.
Yeah.
The one thing I would caution you about during telehealth visits is that if you're talking about a sensitive topic, make sure that you have the door closed because, I want to interact with my patient as if they were in the privacy of my office, right? To maintain that doctor-patient privacy and relationship. But if you're at home and you have lots of other people around, then that information is no longer private.
Sure. Dr. Frier-Gray, thank you so much. I mean, there's a lot of information packed into this For Your Health segment, things that we can use and we can share with our family and friends. So we really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you so much.
You are most welcome. Just mentioned before I go that this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I just wanted to remind everyone about getting your screening. The U.S., there are lots of different guidelines about screening. And so you can look at the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force, the American Cancer Society, or ACOG. But I will tell you that if you are over 40, you should be asking your healthcare provider about when you should start screening, particularly if you have a family history.
That's a great reminder.
Great reminder.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Girl Chat is up next.
The players, the politics, the problems, the people. For more than 25 years, Political Forum has given Chicagoans access to the biggest names and issues with one-on-one sit-downs with the city's major players. I invite you to join me, Sylvia Snowden, for a brand new season of Political Forum, where our show will be bigger and better than ever. Tune in Wednesday at 7 p.m. on KNTV Channel 19. The world is watching Chicago. Chicago is watching Political Forum.
I'm dressing to the nines. You know I like to shine. I like to leave an impression.
I have a question for you, ladies.
Okay.
I recently saw a discussion on social media that a lot of people felt strongly about. So I'm curious to see what you think about it. And the question is, do you think that it is appropriate for someone who is in a committed relationship to have a secret stash, meaning they are saving money or saying they're not making as much as they do, and so they can use the money only for them, and their partner doesn't know anything about it. What do you think about that?
Sounds toxic.
You might be a little toxic.
Might be a little bit toxic.
Well, because I'm trying to figure out, why is the stash secret?
Right.
Well, there are reasons. Like, what if your partner wants to spend every dime? Like, they don't believe in saving. So if you have money in the bank,
communicating, but relationships are about open communication.
I'm just saying, what if they're gonna spend every dime you have?
It doesn't matter if you communicate. Doesn't matter.
Don't spend my money. I already did. Well, I mean, that's the communication, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm saying there may be other reasons why it happens. But so you think that if you have a secret stash that your spouse or partner doesn't know about, that's a problem?
Go ahead.
I don't know that it's a problem. There's always been separate stashes, right?
Right.
So I don't know that, my husband knows all of my stashes anyway. They're not necessarily secrets.
Mr. McFarland.
He does not.
They're not
show.
secret, but I'm
He's
certain
gonna
he
bring some
has-
receipts home, Robin. You know he watches. He's one of our best fans.
That's right. He is one of the biggest fans. But so I think the word secret is what's catching me up, because I think separate stashes, I think that's
This is a
okay.
different
Totally
question than
okay.
separate.
Yeah.
Secret means there's something to hide. There's a
Right. I
reason
don't want
to
you to know
hide.
anything about
Yes.
it.
Now, secret stash for maybe that beautiful piece of jewelry that I want to get you. Very different than secret stash of
saving for a gift.
the saving for a gift. Secret stash to say, I want to leave you in 5 years, so I got this stash over here, just in case, right? I think those are two very different, two secret stashes,
different situations,
but very
yeah.
different reasons. Because I'm not
agree.
mad about the jewelry stash.
So then,
I'm mad about that.
I don't agree with a secret stash.
so secret. Well, Robin said secret is not so much a problem, but the reason why it's secret.
Yes.
Okay. You don't believe you should have something your spouse
Well,
doesn't know
I mean,
about,
if they
period.
were saving money but usually I just don't think you have secret stashes. But I get it if you're saving money for a big gift. But
It may not
Surprise of
necessarily be
some
secret.
sort.
I have an account. I opened up an account
I have
for
an account
Yeah.
That's
for-
not
And
what
you
we're
just
talking
don't know
about.
how much is in there. Yes,
I'm
that's
not-
different.
No,
It's different.
She's talking about completely secret. You don't know, and I think
Don't
I
know
don't.
the account exists.
I
Yeah.
don't think that's right. I think that if I found out that my husband had a secret account, that's a problem.
Right.
Because a relationship is supposed to be about honesty and about openness. And yes, you have separate stash, but you don't have anything where you're hoarding money, because that tells me, for some reason, you feel like you have to
Not
have
on the same page.
something secret. And that's not what relationships are about.
Well, I can tell you how it came out, how the spouse found out about, I don't even know if it was a spouse, I think it was just a committed relationship, found out about the stash is that the other partner bought something significant. And they're saying, how did you afford that? Like, where did that come from?
My lights are off.
Yeah.
My bills not paid.
She was
But
like,
you
I
have
have
something
money you don't know
significant.
about. That's how it came out.
It's like, oh, that's my $50,000
Right,
secret stash.
In the dark. We're in the dark.
And she bought something for herself. It wasn't even like a family project that
Okay.
she spent the money on. He's like, wait a minute, why are you, you know what I mean? Everything I make, I put into our either my account or our joint account. You know everything.
Yeah.
You know how much I make. You know what I mean?
Right.
So something's amiss.
Yeah, and she didn't see any problem. Like, well, why are you worried about it? You know, our home's taken care of. You know, I can do whatever I want to with my money.
Wow. What were
But if
some
they
of the
had
things?
if they had a open communication in their relationship, she still would be able to have that stash and spend money how she wanted to spend the money without feeling like she had to keep it a secret.
Right.
So that says that there's something
There's
amiss
some
in the
issues.
relationship.
Right. She did not want her partner to know about it because she didn't want to contribute to the household with this money. You know, this.
Well, there's a problem.
There's a whole
I mean,
other-
Therein lies the problem.
Wait a minute. She need to look in the mirror.
I think he gave her a huge mirror to look into it, like, because it wasn't equal. Like if this is how we're doing it, then
Right.
I shouldn't have been
And
contributing
there's
all of
something
my
else
money there.
going on where you have a stash that large that is secrets.
I mean,
that
they've
kinda
been
comes
together for
out.
some years.
Yeah,
I guess
they
she had
have
been
been
saving
together
the
for
whole
some
time.
years, yeah.
She
And,
came up
like,
with a brand new
bought
car.
something for herself.
She was like, I've got a car. Here's a
wait, we don't have that kind of money. Like, how'd you
get a Bentley?
You don't have that kind of money.
It's you. I do.
Speak for yourself,
money.
sir.
do.
That's when the sir comes out.
Sir,
Speak for yourself.
it was in my account, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I've been saving
I don't know what
for
to
5
tell you.
years.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I just feel like I'm okay for good intentions. Let me say that. So like surprises, gifts, maybe a big vacation,
Yeah, but
anniversary.
that's not a huge stash. That's just
It
I'm
could
putting
be,
away a
depending
little bit of
on-
money here.
Depend on the surprise.
And that's true.
Could depend
They
on
might
the
go to Greeno for 2 weeks.
That's right. That's right. So
Greeno for
I
two days.
think for the
Mr.
intention
McFarland,
behind
she's clearly has a secret stash. I'm looking at the camera, so Mr. McFarland, I'm talking to you.
So I'm just the intention behind that, just because I don't know. There's some trust, right? And so
Yes.
you just okay. Maybe I just didn't know about that, or yes, you
Right.
have it over. I don't know how much is in it. It was over there,
Right.
and so it's not an intentional secret to save up and
Sure.
buy.
And I think it's how
Yeah.
you were raised to how your parents handled money.
That could
and
be,
yeah,
too.
people
Yeah.
feel like I don't want to end up like my parents. I have to protect, you know. I don't know. I think there's some reasons why it may not be malicious, but it's just like a
Yes.
self-preservation thing. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
I
think
it's
it's
interesting.
Yeah.
That's
So
insecurity.
interesting.
Insecurity
It
in
is.
that. Yeah, insecurity.
Yeah, it is. I think, and yeah, I don't have any secret. I wouldn't be good at it, for one. You know what I mean? I'd be like talking about it and, oh,
The
that's right.
secret's out.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right. You didn't know about that one,
You didn't know
right?
about that one.
Right. So in my experience, I just don't have secrets.
Secrets
'cause
out.
I'm not,
Secrets
I'm not
out.
good at it, right?
Yeah.
I'll be all twisted up. So I do think that it's a sign that there may be an issue.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
So
And I'm so big on loyalty and honesty. Like that is,
it goes totally against what you believe.
I am
Yeah.
like that is number one for me is
Right.
loyalty and honesty. And if you break that for me, if I find a secret stash, we might as well find a secret divorce or
Right.
something.
Oh my gosh. Well, ladies, you know, I love to bring these topics to you to get your perspective as usual. You came through. Thank you for joining us this evening. Let us know on Facebook Messenger at @just4girlfriends if you think it's okay to have a stash that your significant other does not know about, and if it depends on the reason, like we thought here. So if you want to know more about Just for Girlfriends, you can find us on the web at www.justforgirlfriends.com. We know that you could have been doing a number of other things this evening, and we want to thank you for spending the past hour with us. We will be back next Monday, same time, same channel. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.